Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Audrey, Cleo, culture and trends expert for Pandora, a SiriusXM company. Before we get started, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given nearly $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist in need of help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description box of this video. Thank you for your support. Now it's time to introduce the stars of The Wheel of Time: Daniel Henney, Zoe Robbins, Madeleine, Josha Stradowski, and Marcus Rutherford. Well, thank you so much for being here, everybody, and congratulations, season 2. It's already in the works. Have you already started working on it? Where are we in this?
Yeah, we're basically halfway through at this point, I think. And, it's been a little bit challenging with COVID and stuff again, but we're making our way through, and it's Christmas time. So we're all trying to get home to our respective families and enjoy some time off.
Very good. Social distancing can happen in the fantasy world too, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, because this is for an audience of fellow actors, performers, I want to take you on a trip down memory lane. I want to know, what it was like when you first signed on, how this project came your way. What was the audition process like? Daniel, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, it kind of was a strange process for me. I just finished doing a show for the better part of 6 years in the States, and I was looking to do something different and outside of the box. And my team came to me with this, and I thought, well, that's as different outside of the box as you can get. So it was really exciting. And it was then a process of a couple of FaceTimes with Rafe and some other writers and producers. And strangely enough, it kind of went dark after that. And I didn't hear anything for a while. And I thought that it kind of went away. And so I went to South Korea to work on a film. And I woke up one morning in a hotel there, and I had like 20 missed calls from LA. And they said, the wheel has come back. Okay. So then I think I got some makeshift sides, and I went in. I did a read on camera, and that went well. And then I had a FaceTime with Rosamund, and we had like a 4-hour conversation about life and work and sort of everything, just to kind of see if we could coexist. And that's how it happened. And I got it. And I was standing by a lake in Michigan, and I did like a half cartwheel, I think. And I screamed, and I was super pumped. And everyone around me who was fishing thought I was crazy. And that was it. And then I was on a flight to Prague.
Amazing. Well, I know some of you had also put yourself on tape for the audition process. Zoe, Madeleine, what was your experience like?
Yeah, well, mine's definitely not as dramatic and exciting as Daniel's.
But did you do a cartwheel? Did you do a cartwheel?
I definitely cussed. I said a few hundred swear words, I think, and screamed down the phone, but I didn't do any cartwheels. Mine came through like any other audition, through my emails, through my American manager, and I did a self-tape with my New Zealand agent in New Zealand. And then we heard relatively quickly, I think they were at the end of their kind of casting process for Nynaeve. And then not long after that, I had a Skype with Rafe back in the day when we were doing Skype, and it was about an hour, and it just made me want it even more because I saw how much he cared about this world and his creative integrity and how much, this story means to him. And then I think I did one more tape, and there was rumors that I was going to head to London for the casting session with these guys, but then that never happened. And I kind of booked the role very quickly. And as exciting as that was, it's also, I don't know, that made me, I think, a little bit even more insecure, because I was like, are you sure? How do you haven't even met me? You know what I mean? So
Madeleine and for Josha and Marcus, what were your audition processes like?
Yeah, kind of similar to Zoe's. I had an audition come through, and I looked up a bit about the world and the series, and saw that there were 90 plus million copies sold worldwide, and I was like, oh, okay, no pressure. And also, what rock have I been living under? Because I hadn't heard of the series until that point. But then, I did an audition and got a call back, and then was told that I was going over to London to do a chemistry read where I met Josha and Marcus. And that was a very intense day because, obviously it's super high pressure. I traveled such a long way, was incredibly jet lagged. But, I remember walking into the casting room, and it was such a diverse group of people that were there, and I felt very at ease, that hasn't always been my experience, acting and walking into casting rooms. So that was really wonderful to see. And I knew that they had done like a worldwide search, which was amazing, because that's opening up so many opportunities to actors, all around the world. And then the chemistry read was brilliant, and it was really wonderful to get a chance to have that, because when you're working on a series for so long with such a large ensemble, chemistry is really important, and making sure everyone gets along and the dynamics between the characters. So then I flew back to Australia, and then I think like a week later or a couple of days later, I heard that I had gotten the role and had like 2 weeks to kind of pack my life up. It was definitely like waves of, overwhelming emotion, and I think like a lot of fear and excitement. So it was a bit of a, it was quite a complex feeling, but yeah, it was, it's been amazing, but no cartwheels.
I can't call mine an actual cartwheel. It was half at best. My legs are too long.
What is a half cartwheel? Is it when your legs are kind of like this?
Yeah, it just looks like a disaster out of water.
like that.
Do it.
Couple more coffees and I'll try one for you guys.
Josha, Marcus, any cartwheels for you when you found out you got the job?
Well, I think for me, what was quite unusual about this, the auditioning process for the Wheel of Time, is that everything was very secretive. So I didn't know what character I was auditioning for, and I didn't know any context of the scene. And when we were auditioning in London, there were quite many scenes. Like, I don't know, we had like 7-8 scenes to prepare. And but that was very freeing, because if you have no context and you cannot look up anything, then you just have to go with your intuition. And that was also what drew me to the character, was the dialogue, and that it felt so real. And that's what I said to my agents. I said, I don't know who he is. I wasn't really aware of the Wheel of Time. This show was my introduction to the Wheel of Time. But I said, I really want to do this. So when I heard that I got the job, that I got to play the character, I was very happy. And then I heard who I was going to play. And then straight away fear kicked in, and I started reading and working straight away. Yeah.
Amazing. Marcus, auditioning. You also auditioned not knowing what character you were auditioning for. It was under code names, right?
Yeah. I was auditioning for the role of Peter, which I probably could have figured out. It's not like Da Vinci Code, like it's kind of similar name. But yeah, my agent, I was working on a show in the UK, and my agent was like, you really need to tape for this first. I did the tape, and it was quite quick, really. I had to go in the room, and Rafe and Uta, who's the director of the first block, was there, and Marika, the producer. So straight away, like, the kind of team were in the room to kind of see you audition. And then they asked me to come back the next day, and then about a week after that to do another audition. And then I got told I got the part. But yeah, it was very secretive. I only knew it was kind of big. Amazon had a lot of promise for this, and it was kind of a big show, but we didn't really know much. And then I found out that Rosamund Pike had already been cast as like a lead in it, and I was like, okay, well, she's really good. So that's good. Good enough.
Yeah,
I
was like, all right. Yeah.
And then, bit by bit, I was kind of in this weird position where I'd kind of been cast a bit earlier. So I kind of saw like Josha and Maddie, I kind of saw kind of the group being formed really as we were kind of doing chemistry tests together. So that was really, really exciting. And you could kind of see them slowly sort of building this ensemble and this whole kind of main group. So it was kind of a weird process again, but really, really exciting.
And then once all of you found out the scale and also the huge fan base of this series and of this show, you know, a lot of times sometimes you get a lot of source material for you to draw your characters from. In this case, you have over a dozen books. So is that a blessing or a curse for you all as actors? Like, how many people went into the books to mine for stuff, and how many of you kind of wanted to leave it more to making it your own?
For me, I immediately went into the books and got through Eye of the World pretty quickly, and then kept reading on. I don't know about the rest of you, but I did find that once I started getting further in the books, it was sort of conflicting with my thoughts around the scripts that were coming in. So I did find it challenging knowing exactly where Len was going, and I would find myself questioning certain things about some of the scenes in our show, and I wanted to so then I just kind of decided that I'm going to have to just put a hold on the books for now and just stick to the show, and that made it easier for me to focus on Lan and the show as opposed to knowing exactly where this guy's going all the way down the road. So that was kind of my process.
What about for you, Zoe? Did you look into the books at all and mine parts of Nynaeve from them?
Yeah, I had a similar process. I bought The Eye of the World as soon as I was cast, and I started reading it quite furiously. But then when I found that I came to Prague and we were getting the scripts, that I guess it just benefited my process a little bit more, just to put it down and focus on what was actually happening on the day, because there are a few changes, and I found that for me it worked if I just focus on the scripts.
What about for the rest of you? Anybody get through book 12 yet?
I just started this week, book 12, I must say. Just 12. But for me, it was I liked reading it because it when I started this, and what I just said, when I heard I was going to play Rand, you know, a lot of books have been sold, and I did feel that pressure, and I did know there was an image out there of Rand because all of our characters are really central characters in this story. And for me, it helped me to run away from that pressure and that image, and to find my Rand, my interpretation of Rand in the scripts and in the books. And that's where I could get away from that and pressure and feel at home and feel that creativity. Yeah,
and so much of season 1 has focused on the question of who the Dragon Reborn is. I think by episode 7, we're on episode 7 now. I think we can say we find out that it is Rand. So at what point did you know that, or did you already know, when you picked the part up and found out that it was going to be part of Wheel of Time?
I think this is the first time that I can talk about this, No, I did know, and I talked to Rafe, of course, and I think it was really good to make that decision. That in the books, it's really obvious that it's Rand. A couple of pages in, and you're like, okay, because you also follow the perspective of Rand. Mm-hmm. And I think they really did a great job. That in this show, it could really be one of those 5. And I always knew that Rand was going to be the Dragon Reborn. But I love the choice of Rafe to push that forward.
Absolutely. What I really like about this show is the complexities of the relationships. I think one of the first ones that we're introduced to, of course, is the relationship between Moiraine and Lan. So Daniel, if you can kind of elaborate just how special this relationship is, because it's not romantic, and it's a friendship, but it's more than that. So please, if you can elaborate just on forging that relationship.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of tricky, and it's something that Rosamund and I talked about from the very start, that to have a chance to kind of put this very unique relationship between a man and woman on screen. And for both of us, I think it was one of the first times we'd done anything like that. I mean, it is much like a marriage, with probably all the day-to-day boring things as they go on this journey for 20 some odd years that they're on, where you find them. But some of the good stuff, like the sex and romance, is out the window. So they have a very unique relationship in that regard. I mean,
but they know each other's feelings. And as a married person, I can tell you that's not always happening.
Well, how long have you been married?
3 years, 3 days ago.
Well, maybe
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
No, but yeah, it is super unique, and it's really fun to experiment with. And we hope that through some of the changes that we have made from the books, that's part of the bond that we were trying to showcase. I know in episode 5, there was a controversial scene with Lan showing some pretty deep emotions when he's grieving for his lost friend. And we thought that was really important to sort of cement and showcase how deep that bond does go between Audrey and Aes Sedai. And we thought that with scenes like that, it gives the audience perspective. I'm like, oh, okay, we see they do feel everything. And it is more than just sort of these two friends who are traveling together. Yes, he's a friend, confidant, bodyguard, all those things, but there's something much more through the one power that exists between these two people. And so it's been tricky. It's been fun to explore it. We're hoping that it's showing, it's different when in a visual medium. We have to choose those scenes carefully, but we're hopeful that people are starting to see that bond come through.
I'm glad you brought up that scene, the funeral scene, because it was one of those things that really was emotional. And I think all of you have had your fair share of very emotional, tense scenes. So for you as performers, are there rituals that you go through when you're trying to prep for a scene like that funeral scene, or, the scene between Madeleine and Marcus when, Perrin's being tortured and Madeleine and Egwene's being pressured to channel? Like, what does a day like that, on a shoot day like that, look like for you all?
I think everyone has a different process. Personally, for me, I've always worked in film and TV, so I've never really been quite accustomed to having like long periods of rehearsal time. So a lot of that means that a lot of the time I've had to kind of do preparation for scenes on my own. I think something that's really important for me is to not over-rehearse. I find if you over-rehearse and over-block, then you end up kind of shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to actually shooting, because, if you haven't seen the set, if you haven't rehearsed in there with the director beforehand or the other actors, then, you've got to be able to adjust to what you're going to be doing on the day. So I think for me, I kind of read over the scenes, find the beats that I want to hit, particularly with the channeling. We have an amazing movement coach, Scarlett McKim, who helps us find the movement for that scene. So that can help, that you've got to get to that point. But yeah, I think on the day, if there is an intense scene, I generally like to keep it kind of light in between, filming. I think it just kind of helps me mentally, get through the day. I think when you have to go to those places, it can be quite intense and, isolating. And so for me, I think a way of balancing that out and ensuring that I have a good time and that, I can kind of relax at the end of the day and not take that home, just trying to enjoy myself in between takes. Yeah.
Marcus, is that the same for you? Do you like to kind of take a more light approach when you have intense scenes?
Yeah, I think so. I think it can kind of depend on the director and again on the day as well. I think like Uta was great in the first block. I know obviously I had quite a heavy scene in the first episode, and she kind of just gauged that I kind of just wanted to kind of kind of go for it and to kind of keep it quite free and to kind of just hold the camera and capture it. And I didn't really want to kind of rehearse it too much. And I kind of asked if we could just kind of let it happen. And I kind of knew, we both kind of knew how much this was for the character and how much this kind of shapes his journey throughout the season. But I thought that moment, you couldn't really rehearse it. I thought it just had to happen in the moment. So when the director kind of gauges how you want to work as well, that's super, super helpful. And then, yeah, for the scene in episode 5, I think me and Maddie kind of, you can kind of just gauge how the other actor's working. We both kind of might take a minute to kind of go off and listen to some music and be quiet, but you kind of know how you share each other's kind of energy on that day. And you're kind of there for a laugh in between, but also there to kind of give them a bit of space when when they need it as well. For
the ladies on the panel, the women in this show are complicated. They are powerful. They are so compelling. What do you think this show is saying about feminine power?
It's a reflection of what our actual world is like. Speaking from a personal experience, I come from a very strong matriarchal family, and being a First Nations woman, that is a massive part of our culture as well. So I could really see a lot of that reflected in the show. I think this is what has made the series so ahead of its time when it was first published, was, gender dynamics and inclusivity. I think that is what's really drawn people in, around the world. And, we've taken this show and we've modernized it a bit for a 21st century audience and look at, themes of identity, sexuality, gender, race, that's what our world looks like. So why shouldn't our art reflect that? For me, I think it's very empowering to look around on set and look at the incredible people that I have the opportunity to work with, particularly, when you have scenes either in the White Tower or, with all of the fantastic Aes Sedai women. It's such a big group of people from all different walks of life. And I think that really brings a special magic to the show, which is unlike anything I've really seen.
Zoe, as my name, I know you have something to add to this.
I was about to say, I don't think I can say anything after that. That was a beautiful answer. I guess echo what Maddie said in that, it's refreshing to be on a show like this where it showcases women and all genders in different power positions and responsibilities. And I think it's nice because it's not like we're reaching into the backs of our imaginations. I know incredibly strong, inspiring women in my life, and it's an honor to play one that I think has had an impact on a lot of readers' lives. And it's a wonderful opportunity. It's really special.
The thing that's also very striking about this show, and Madeleine, you kind of touched on this earlier, is the diversity. We don't see a lot of casts, especially in fantasy shows, that are as diverse as The Wheel of Time. It's one of the most refreshing things, I think, as a viewer to see this. So how has the diversity of the cast and the diversity of this world added to the richness of it? What has been your experience on the show?
Look, 10 to 15 years ago, when I was kind of just starting my acting journey in the States, I started in Korea, but 15 years ago is when I started auditioning in the States. And I guess all I can say is for Asian actors, I think the door was slightly ajar. And I feel like it's open now, which is really beautiful to see. And growing up in a very small Midwestern town, my mom and I being the only Asian people in my hometown, I was just like any other kid. We would play, I'd ride my black lab and I'd make a sword out of 2 like tree branches and pretend I was a king. And there was a part of me that when I became an actor, I kind of had to put that away, thinking I could play something that amazing. And it's a testament to Robert Jordan's writing and Rafe and the amazing team behind this show to reach out and to be cast in something like this. I just never thought I'd have the opportunity to play a king. an uncrowned king, and to speak in a sometimes questionable English accent, and to ride a 15-foot Frisian horse through a forest in Europe. I mean, it just, so personally, it's just been really, really special to me and very touching. And the cast is incredibly diverse, but at the same time, it fits so beautifully into this world. And I was just with a friend this morning, and she was telling me how, her whole family is in. They're 100% in. She was talking about the Dragon Reborn. She was talking about, well, who is it? And I couldn't tell her, obviously, that it's Josha. And she just kept talking about the diversity and how beautiful it was and how it worked so well and how refreshing it was to see this cast that represents the world, and the entire world. And it's just really special.
Yeah. And I think that, little young me would have watched it and said, oh my gosh, like we can be a part of this.
Yeah.
We can be included in this. And that's just seeing that, instead of hunting for whatever Asian guy number 3 who's in the background in the army. Like, what that's like, Daniel.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
But for Madeleine, you touched on walking into that audition room and seeing diversity just from the jump, from that process. How does that then kind of influence your experience, throughout the show?
Yeah, I think, like Daniel said, it's such a lovely story. And I think, talking, like you said, Daniel, of having to kind of maybe put those dreams to the side for a minute because you've been told that you cannot amount to those or you will never have those dreams. I remember when I was starting out and I was like a teenager and, I expressed to someone in the industry that I wanted to start taking, dialect sessions and coaching. And, I was told that, you would never need to do that because you'll never get a job out of Australia. And so I think, you hear that as a young actor and, throughout your entire life. And for me, it's kind of only spurred me on even more. I think potentially even being, a bit angsty when I was younger and like, all right, I'm going to do it out of spite. But no, it's definitely something that spurred me on and has made me stronger. And I think that makes you can just adapt to any situation really. I particularly working in Australia, I've been in lots of casting rooms where I've been probably the only one that wasn't white with blonde hair and blue eyes. And, I think that can be quite an intimidating environment to be in. And, with this show, it was certainly not the case. I remember walking in and everyone at lots of different ages and backgrounds, and it was just really wonderful. I was like, whether or not I get this role, I know that they've done a worldwide search. And, I think particularly with this show, it's people have been cast because, they are the best portrayal of the characters that, the showrunners and producers have found. We're not ticking a box. And I think, it does absolutely enrich the world of the Wheel of Time for sure. Sorry, I'm very jet lagged at the moment, so my brain is like talking in full stops. So sorry if I'm kind of going around in circles.
Zoe, Josha, and no, that was lovely answers. Zoe, Josha, and Marcus, thoughts on just the richness of this world and the diversity of the performers you're working with.
Yeah, I think it kind of just feels this sort of, although it is kind of a big kind of, amazing aspect of the show, it kind of just felt natural. Like you said, when you read the books and how expansive the world and cultures are, it kind of only suits it that you have, a truly international cast. But like, similar to Daniel and stuff like that, I grew up watching Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and stuff. And, you just didn't really see anyone that looked like you. And your imagination is there when there's different creatures and animals and spells, but it kind of seemed to be a boundary if there were people that looked different, that the industry hadn't really got there yet. So it's lovely, man. It's really lovely to be in a show or to play a part that I myself would have looked up to and been inspired by. But again, it kind of just suits it. It's the best people for the job, and it just provides something really new and exciting on screen at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree with Marcus. I think this show is so refreshing in many different ways. It is a diversity, and I can feel the strength of that, the power of that every day, that we in this production are so different in so many ways. And that does feel like a richness. And it also makes sense because the world of the Wheel of Time is so rich, and there's so many people with so many places, so many different cultures and beliefs. So the show has to be like that, it is complete. And that's what the same what you just talked about, that in this world, women have strength, and they not only strength as in power, but strength in many different ways as well. And not only the women, but also the men, like Marcus's character, that he has such a struggle with violence. I mean, that in the fantasy story, I mean, he would be running with the sword normally, or like Daniel with the beautiful funeral scene, that's vulnerability. And that in man is also, I think that's very manly. So all of these men or women, they both show strength in different ways. And that only makes sense for the Wheel of Time.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how I can add to everything, but I think it's interesting that the show can be viewed as somewhat radical, even though it isn't at all. I think what we're doing is simply reflecting the world back as it is, and it is such a beautiful opportunity that we can display this type of representation to viewers. And I never saw that growing up, and I wanted to be an actor since I was about 10, and I'm from New Zealand and was living in New Zealand at the time, and being a part of the cast of Lord of the Rings, I don't think was an option for me, so I think
and that's wild. Like when you think about that in 2021, right? Like that,
yeah,
to think
it is crazy.
That
and it is true as well, because I saw I'm Dutch, and I saw not a Dutch actor but a Flemish actor, the neighbor country, and I saw him doing international movies, and he was he's still my favorite actor, and his movies are also one of my favorite movies. And I mean, he's one of the reasons that I'm also in the Wheel of Time, because I saw him and I saw, oh, that's something I can do as well. Right. So it's true.
I love that. Well, we are running up against time, so I want to kind of close out on something fun. This will come out after episode 7. So we're nearing the end of season 1. So describe for me the ending of season 1 in 3 emojis.
Emojis.
Well, I've got one.
Okay, so you get to go first.
That blowing head emoji where the head's coming off and there's smoke coming. You know what I mean? Like mind blown.
The skeleton.
I'm gonna go dragon emoji.
I'm dead. Oh, dragon. Shit.
Dang, that was really good. Baby.
Hey, the brain's still working.
Eggplant.
Yeah.
Oh,
Marcus.
Oh, shit.
You're going to need a
okay, so we have the brain explosion emoji, the dragon emoji, the skull emoji. Josha, that was your contribution. Marcus, the eggplant emoji.
Need a mute.
I'd probably go with the just the poop one, because we're all kind of screwed at the end, it seems like.
Screw one.
No, the poop one. Yeah, the little.
Oh, poop. I was like, I didn't know there was a screw emoji.
No, I want to change mine. I want to go with that one with this smirk on his face, like he goes like. That one.
Nice.
Marcus, are you stoically standing by eggplant?
Definitely, the episode 8 it kicks off, so I think that's
Oh, yeah.
no, I'm gonna go fire emoji, definitely.
No, man, eggplant, that was it, man.
Episode 8, it kicks off. Eggplant emoji.
You
What
can't
kicks
go
off?
from eggplant to fire.
Are we
It's like,
watching
oh, it's the end of the
same
world.
show,
Well,
The director's cut.
Well, I think what this says is that there's something for everybody, right? So there you go. All of the emojis. This was such a fun chat. Thank you so much.